You are all welcome to my YouTube channel. Kindly like, share, comment, subscribe and tap the bell for more videos. Hello Kenyans. This channel is really educative and many Africans will gain from it. Generally, today's lesson is all about civic election in Kenya. There are many Africans in Kenya and especially youth who like to become MCAs in the near future. Personally, I'll be vying for parliamentary seat come 2022 in my beloved constituency, Alega Usonga. Here are the qualification or requirement for one to become an MCAs. But before we look at the requirements or qualification, allow me to say this. General elections are conducted after every 5 years to elect the president, members of the National Assembly, the senators, the governors, and members of county assemblies. Members of county assembly are leaders who are elected to the county assemblies in the 47 counties in the country. A member of county assembly always represents an area called a ward. And before elections are held, the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission declares all the county assembly seats vacant and gazettes the election date. A gazette is an official newspaper publication by an organization to communicate official information to the public. Interested candidates are free to vie for the positions. So let us look at now, or allow me to say this. What are the requirements? What are the qualifications for someone to become an MCA? One must be a Kenyan citizen, aged 18 years and above. One must have a national identity card or a valid passport. One must be a resident and a registered voter in the ward one wants to vie for in the civic election. One must not have been imprisoned or jailed for more than 6 months in the civic elections. One must not have been imprisoned or jailed for more than 6 months. One must be of sound mind. Lazima uwe na akili nzuri. One must be nominated by a political party, and if he or she is vying as an independent candidate, he or she must be supported by at least 500 voters from the ward he or she is vying in. One must not be a public officer or a civic servant. One must not have been declared bankrupt by court of law. One must not be an officer working with IEBC within the 5 years before the period of election. One must meet any educational and ethical requirement as outlined in the Act of Parliament, that is the Constitution. So other than elected MCAs, there are seats for nominated MCAs shared among political parties according to the number of elected MPs the parties have. And nomination of MCAs are done mainly to represent special interests, such as the youth and the people with disability. The civic electoral processes. Stage 1. The IEBC conducts registration of voters. Stage 2. The IEBC gazettes the election dates and provides a timetable for the election, and by this time, voter registration is complete. Political parties nominate their candidates. And stage 4, nominated or independent candidates present their nomination papers to the IEBC. Stage 5, the IEBC clears candidates who meet the requirement and registers them. The electoral body announces the date and period within which the election campaign will be held. To campaign is to try and convince the people to vote for you. The IEBC initiates the process of printing ballot papers, which should have the detail of all the candidates. And sometime before election, the current county assembly seats are dissolved to prepare way for the new ones. Stage 9, the electoral body recruits election officers such as returning officers, presiding officers, and polling clerks, and trains them on the right voting procedure. Stage 10, materials and equipment are transferred to the polling stations a day before the election. And on the day of voting, Voters go to the polling station to elect their leaders through the secret ballot method. For a voter to be allowed to vote, he or she must have a national identity card or a valid passport. His or her name must appear in the voter register. When cleared, the voter is given the ballot paper to fill in, and this is done in a private room or booth. The voter puts a mark next to the name and symbol of the candidate of his or her choice and drop the ballot paper in the ballot box, which is usually sealed. 13. Once a voter has cast his or her vote, his or her small finger is dipped into non-washable, that is indelible ink. And this ink is difficult to wash out so as to prevent repeat voting. At the end of voting process, the votes are counted by the presiding officer in the presence of the candidates or their agents and other elections observers. Results are announced by the presiding officer at the polling station. Then lastly, all polling stations then electronically send their results to the constituency, county and national tallying center. The returning officer announces the result for the whole constituency and declare the winners. How one may lose a civic seat. A member of county assembly may lose his or her civic seat under the following circumstances. If one is sentenced to death or jail term of 6 months and above, if one loses his or her Kenyan citizenship, if one election is successfully challenged in a court of law by an opponent, and if a person is convicted of an election offense by a court of law, if it is satisfied that that person is of unsound mind, if one resigns from the party that sponsored him or her to the county assembly in writing, if one is convicted for misuse of public or state office, if a civic seat is declared vacant, a by-election is held to fill the seat. Hello Africans, that marked the end of civic electoral in the Republic of Kenya. So for those who are in need of such like posts, kindly, I'm repeating, like, share, comment, subscribe, and tap the bell for more videos so that we can get along and also be teaching each other in every area in terms of politics. Remember, I am a Paralympic political commentator who will be vying for parliamentary seat 2022, competing leaders who have been in that seat for some years. Thank you.